Okay. Now I want to welcome David McBee as our workshop host, talking about forgiveness. Welcome.
Thank you. This is a nice room. I feel really, I've learned to feel a room with my hands, not so much my eyes. It feels really nice. Can everybody hear me back there? Cool. Good acoustics and everything. You Swedes know how to engineer stuff very well. And being an engineering background, and my dad's an engineer, my son's an engineer, and I think I'm an engineer. So I also own a company that we do a lot of engineering at, but we're amateurs, but we pull it off. Anyway, welcome to the workshop on forgiveness. It's something I've been working on a long time. I had a great teacher in this. We always are told, whatever fellowship, NA or AA or this one, forgive. And they tell you, well, pray about it for a couple of weeks. And sometimes that works, usually it doesn't. And no one really has had before, and this isn't new, this is maybe a decade old, given us real instructions about how to forgive. And there's a fellow named Jack Kornfield who was one of the first Americans who went to Tibet and said, I want to be a monk. And they said, yeah, you're right. You're kidding, right? Because it isn't like today. This was when he literally spent a year in a graveyard and a year in a cave. In Tibet, a graveyard is frozen earth and rocks. And it's called eyes and hair. Because when you die, they put your body up there and they hack it up a little bit so it's easier for the birds to eat. And that's a graveyard. One of the things you learn about impermanence is that everything is impermanent, including us. I haven't met anybody who's gotten out of here without dying, so dying is okay, especially if you're a Buddhist. It's just what's next, But forgiveness is a tough one. If whether you think you're an ACA or you're just in denial, which I consider, I may be a little bit, this is my opinions, by the way. Just because I'm a board member doesn't mean this has anything to do with our doctrines and dogmas, which we thankfully don't have any. But I truly believe the majority of people in the world have ACA tendencies. It's like, did you drown in 6 inches of water or 60 feet? You look at Russia. We got meetings exploding in Russia. Every place that has a propensity toward recovery, has a tendency toward recovery, ends up looking at ACA. Because, yes, I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a spender. What is the underlying reason? And part of that for me was learning how to forgive. I was actually on my way to speak at an ACA group, and I was listening to public radio, and a psychologist was, did I cut myself off? No. Was speaking of the difference between disclosing and admitting. And I was stunned. Because just think about the difference in those words. I admitted that I was abused as a child. Admitted. That means, well, maybe I had a little guilt, a little shame, a part in it. If I disclose it, I just disclose it. It's a fact. And I don't have to attach guilt and shame or other emotions to it. It takes a lot of work. But that's the difference in words. So forgiveness, my buddy Jack, we're not close friends. I claim him as a great teacher because he's one of those fellows, and there's men and women who have become great scholars of Tibetan tradition, but they don't speak in Tibetan. They bring it to their own consciousness, to their own language, to their own people in a very clear way. So Jack came up with this, and this is a formal meditation practice that helps us develop the capacity to forgive. We ask for and extend forgiveness in 3 directions. In a Buddhist monastery, one might repeat this practice hundreds of times. I had an occasion not that many years back where I had pretty much forgiven everybody and myself, and I was done pretty good harm. And it took me a while. I had to go back to doing this meditation 3 times a day. For me not to really carry around that hot coal that I wanted to throw at somebody. In AA, they say drink poison and hope the other person dies. But I like the hot coal because it's really burning us. And it works. So it's worked for me many times. Anyway, if you sit comfortably in this exercise and allowing your eyes to just relax and just, it's always good to have both feet on the ground if you can. We try to stay attached to the earth. Even if we're up a floor, symbolically it's the earth. And it's, I handed out the call and response to this, but it's easy to follow even if you don't have the piece of paper. We've done it on big screens before, but it's not, it's pretty simple, And what you want to do is when we go through this, we want to let you breathe gently into the area of your heart and let yourself feel all the barriers you have erected and the emotions you've carried because you've not forgiven. You've not forgiven yourself and not forgiven others. Let yourself feel the pain of keeping your heart closed. Now breathe softly and begin reciting the following words, letting the images and feelings that come up grow deeper as we repeat them. So I'll do about a sentence at a time, and then we'll do that sentence together. Forgiveness from others. There are many ways I have hurt and harmed others. Repeat that. There are many ways I have hurt and harmed others. Have betrayed or abandoned them, causing them suffering. Have obeyed or abandoned them, causing them suffering. Knowingly or unknowingly, out of my pain, fear, anger, and confusion. Knowingly or unknowingly, out of my pain, fear, anger, and confusion. Now let's sit with this and let yourself remember and visualize some of the ways we have hurt others. See the pain you've caused out of your own fear and confusion. Feel your own sorrow and regret. And sense that finally you can release this burden and ask for forgiveness. Let's take a little time to picture a few of these memories that still burden your heart. And then just sit that for a second. Now, with those images in your mind and in your heart, gently say, I ask for your forgiveness. 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 And then one more time. I ask for your forgiveness. I ask for your forgiveness. Now I think Jack wrote this one for ACAs. Forgiveness for ourselves. Just as I have caused suffering to others, there are many ways I have hurt and harmed myself. Repeat that one. Just as I have caused suffering to others, there are many ways I have hurt and harmed myself. I have betrayed or abandoned myself many times. Betrayed and abandoned myself many times in thought, word, or deed, knowingly or unknowingly. Okay, the whole thing again. Just as I have caused suffering to others, there are many ways that I have hurt and harmed myself. I have betrayed or abandoned myself many times in thought, word, or deed, knowingly or unknowingly. Now feel your own precious body and life and inner child. And let yourself see the ways you've hurt or harmed yourself. Picture them, remember them. Feel the sorrow you have carried from this and sense that you can release these burdens. Please extend forgiveness for each act of harm, one by one. Then repeat these lines with me. For the ways I have hurt and harmed myself through action or inaction. For the ways I have hurt and harmed myself through action or inaction. Out of fear, pain, and confusion. Out of fear, pain, and confusion. I now extend a full and heartfelt forgiveness. I now extend a full and heartfelt forgiveness. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. Let's do that again. For the ways I've hurt and harmed myself through action or inaction, out of fear, pain, and confusion, I now extend a full and heartfelt forgiveness. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. Now we'll ask for forgiveness. We'll extend forgiveness to those who have hurt and harmed you. There are many ways I have been harmed by others, abused or abandoned. There are many ways I've been harmed by others, abused or abandoned. Knowingly or unknowingly, in thought, word, deed, or deed. Knowingly or unknowingly, in thought, word, or deed. Now, each of us have been betrayed. Let yourself picture and remember the many ways this is true. Now, feel the sorrow you have carried from the past. And now sense that you can release this burden of pain by gradually extending forgiveness as your heart is ready. And then to ourselves, together, I remember the many ways others have hurt, wounded, or harmed me. I remember the many ways others have hurt, wounded, or harmed me, out of fear, pain, and confusion, and anger. Out of fear, pain, confusion, and anger. I've carried this pain in my heart long enough. Carried this pain in my heart long enough. To the extent that I am ready, I offer you forgiveness. I offer you forgiveness. To those who have caused me harm, I offer my forgiveness. I forgive you. Those who have caused me harm, I offer my forgiveness. I forgive you. Now gently let yourself repeat these 3 directions for forgiveness until you feel a release in your heart. For some great pains you may not feel a release. Instead, you might experience again the burden and anguish or anger you have held. Touch this softly. Be forgiving of yourself for not being ready to let go and move on. Forgiveness cannot be forced. It cannot be artificial. Simply continue the practice and let the words and images work gradually in their own way. In time, you can make the forgiveness meditation a regular part of your life, letting go from the past and opening your heart to each new moment with a wise sense of kindness. There are other practices that support forgiveness. Letting go, grieving, and reconciliation are 3 additional practices that complement the word of forgiveness. Each offers a wise and simple form, a gracious language to encourage the heart to let go, to heal, and to come to rest. And let your own intuition guide you to which of these meditations to practice, and stay with it as long as it serves you. Then return when you're ready to the ongoing practice of forgiveness. I think Jack was a ACA, is an ACA. And there's almost a prayer we have that every morning there are a few blessed seconds when history does not exist, when yesterday is forgotten and the reality of today is not set in. That's when I try to find my way to the mat so I can, in parlance, get to the mat before my brain wakes up and I can set the stage for my day. We have a few more to do, but I wanted to do now, if we have the time. That's a very powerful and deep meditation. You can do it 5 times and you're okay, and the 5th time it grabs you and throws the burden on the floor with yourself. I mean, I have had great releases of this. I've done it one-to-one with many people and had them come up off the couch when they hit an emotion that they had buried and a burden that they had buried. And my own personal opinion is for adult children. One of the hardest ones to forgive is ourselves. Sometimes we blame us for our own childhood. That's that whole hopelessness and powerlessness. And forgiving ourselves is really truly a blessing. So I've been meditating for, I count as 51 years. I took about 20 years off when I decided I liked some substances and the bottles more than I liked meditation. I thought it was a better form. Not. However, when I returned, I came back to my practice, and one of the things I used was a mantra that I had not used myself in 25 years. It was given to me when I was 18 years old, 17 or 18. I'm now 68. And it worked for me in a second step in another program where the compulsion to drink came, and this mantra came out of nowhere. I mean, it came out of some higher place other than in me. And the compulsion to drink never came back. And I use it. And at any time you say this mantra, there is 1 million people in the world reciting this mantra. If you see a Buddhist temple with the bells that are spinning, this is the mantra that's embedded in those bells. It's one of the oldest mantras. The funny translation is the jewel in the belly of the lotus. It's Om Mani Padme Hum. I don't always say it right. There's a great joke I may tell you if we have enough time about that. But it's wisdom, it's home, it's heart, it's strength, it's peace. It's all of those. And ultimately it's gratitude for that jewel in the belly of the lotus. And there's a friend of mine, named Deva Pamal, who goes around the world. Her mission and her husband's mission is to sing spiritual songs around the world. And they do this. They don't own anything. They spend about 2 months off a year in Australia, Byron Bay. But other than that, they sing here. They sing in Sweden. They sing in Germany. They sing in every country in the world, including Russia. And they do a really good version of Om Mani Padme Hum. And I would like you to let this seep deep into your forgiveness meditation, because it's one of the oldest mantras. And it's a healing mantra. And it's a blessed mantra. So I give you my friend Deva Pama. I don't know if you've ever heard the expression that I don't know anybody who was raised in an ashram. I do. Deva was raised in an ashram. And when she hugs you, the rest of the world kind of goes away. Because we love hugging each other. It's ACA. We try to nurture that, some of the things that were neglected as children. But Deva, she doesn't know about that stuff. She just knows how to love. And but I figured it out with her. We were talking one day. And it's that when she hugs you, she's hugging you. She's not thinking about anything else. She's just fully present with you. And that's so impactful that it's something I've been eternally grateful for. Because gratitude is one of the follow-ups to forgiveness, no? And there's a good little list I have that adds that to me that I've often used when I rarely get on a pity pot, like almost never. I have one friend who's a triple amputee from Vietnam. My entertainment lawyer for 30 years was a paraplegic from the first week of football, so I really have a hard time feeling sorry for myself. It really doesn't work. Notwithstanding, I have sat on the pity pot now and then. But gratitude is an amazing thing. You know, if you have no water and you get one glass of water, I could be very grateful for that glass of water. Oh, if you have no food and you get a cracker, you don't have to have the 9-course meal. Just a simple bowl of soup can be sustaining. So for me, gratitude begins with I remember the people and animals and plants and insects and creatures of the sky and sea and air and fire and earth, all those joyful extensions blesses my life every day. With gratitude, I remember the care and labor of 1,000 generations of elders and ancestors who came before me. I offer my gratitude for the safety and well-being I have been given. I offer my gratitude for the blessings of this earth I have been given. I offer my gratitude for the measure of health I have been given. I offer my gratitude for the family and friends I've been given. I offer my gratitude for the community I've been given. I offer my gratitude for the teaching and lessons I have been given. And I offer my gratitude for the life I've been given. I wouldn't trade a second of my life for what it is. I've had, as many of you have had, many different hardships and trials and lessons. But it gives me a wholeness that my definition of recovery is really being connected. We're tribe human. Join it. So that's all for me. And thank you all for coming. So we have questions or anything anybody wants to participate in. We have a mic that's here. And we will, if you have a question for me, I'll try to answer. But, I only have a few answers. Hands up for anybody? Oh.
Hi, my name is Sam. I'm a Dutch. Thank you. I have a question about how did your spiritual journey begin? Can you...
I was raised in a house where there was no spirituality. And I have spiritual teachers I've worked with who told me that was one of my challenges in this life, as I used to be being raised in a spiritual community, and I had to go find one this time around. And that journey began by seeing the imperfections and the practices that my parents in their community did. Not to condemn them, but it wasn't very much. My parents' first divorce, the minister hit on my mother. I said, well, that's not much good. And I found Camille Gabram, the prophet, when I was 12. And I read that, and I would say that's when my journey found a solid base in this life. And it's still a book I cherish. And it's the truth is the truth when you find it, and it stays the truth. Gabram is a great prophet. And then I went to Sufis and Nasruddin, who was a comic, but he was a great teacher. People think of Rumi. Rumi is a great poet, but Nasruddin was the teacher. I mean, one of his famous lines was, a teacher is a mullah, and it was the mystics of Islam. And they asked Nasruddin, teacher, why do you always answer one question with another? And he said, do I? So I find the teachers that have helped me most have humor. And I think, actually, I have to rethink with your question. It came to me that my spiritual journey actually also began with a piano teacher when I was 5. And I found my love for music, which has stayed with me my whole life. So, thank you. She also was the first one I've come to recognize gave me unconditional love.
Sorry. Do you have any, in lack of better word, tips on how to make amends to someone who is not here anymore?
I can tell you what I've done, right? Several things. One, I make amends by how I live. I've written letters and brought them to gravestones. And I have taken action to help make amends for some of the things that I owed that person or sometimes environment to. And a lot of that also is to forgive myself for it. I think that is as important to me. But again, it's action. I hate to give this example because a lot of you smoke, but I smoked for many, many years, and I actually have COPD and emphysema from it. And part of the amends of that was I worked very hard on an amendment in Florida to outlaw smoking in a public place. I worked with a lot of high school kids, and the funny thing is the polls were 50-50, and we won 70-30, and I couldn't figure it out. And I asked friends of mine who were smokers, and they said, we did not want our children to be subject to secondhand smoke. So that's a direct example I can give you of making amends to people, which I've done on graves and with letters and by action. Thank you.
Thank you for your workshop. I've always found forgiveness to be an extremely problematic area. I've found that the wisdom is that if we don't forgive, we will be in pain ourselves. And I can go along with that. The sort of problem I have is precisely what forgiveness is. Is it a statement, I forgive you? Is it an action? Is it a decision? And there was someone I read who said that what forgiveness is non-judgment. And I find that quite much easier to get my head around than the idea of forgiveness itself, because I know what judgment is, and I believe that most of the dysfunction in my family came from a feeling of being judged. So when I find that someone who has offended me, I find that when I can say to them, or when I can feel about them, that I'm not judging them anymore, then that's almost the same, it seems to me, as forgiveness. If I'm not judging them, there isn't anything to forgive, essentially. So I find it easier to look at it in terms of the judgment than in terms of the forgiveness.
Thank you. I'll give you an example that there's a great Rinpoche, which is a Rinpoche is called the Precious One in Buddhism. It's a reincarnated teacher, Lama, and they're a cardinal or a bishop or something in other religions. And there was one who was the Chinese really don't like the Tibetans very much, and they occupy their country. That's an understatement. And he was tortured by the Chinese, and he finally got free, and he made it out to Dharamsala, which is the home of the Dalai Lama in India. And he was asked the one thing he feared in captivity. And he said the one thing he feared was losing compassion for his captors, which is a shocking statement to make, but I mean, and I have another friend who's my personal friend. He's my brother Rinpoche. He doesn't look like me, but we're brothers. You know, he's the one who tells me I'm going to have to be a monk again next life, and I tell him, no, I don't want to do that. He says, too bad, you know. Wonderful guy named Pajong. And he too was sent to India by the Tibet by the Dalai Lama to increase the teachings at a monastery, and he did. And the Chinese told him he was doing too good of a job, and he said, okay. He didn't worry about that too much, so they arrested him and tortured him. And he was teaching the 6 perfections, one of which is generosity, one is patience, his other ones. And he was talking about patience, and he said, and there was about 25 of us in a room with him, and he talked about patience, and he says, you know, without a scintilla, without a microcosm of anger or shame or grief or any of that. And he says, you know, I was working on patience. He says, they had me hung from the ceiling and they were beating me. And he said, I knew if I was patient long enough, their arms would get tired. And his arms would get tired. He said, patience works. So part of to expound on is not to create something we need to forgive someone for. Recognize them for who they are. You know, our past is our past. We want to talk about our present and our future. And so the less we judge, the less we have to forgive. So thank you for that question. Everybody's all well? No. Over here.
Hello, thank you for your workshop. I'm Maria, adult child. I've wondered many times, and I sometimes think we can hit each other with the words, you ought to forgive.
Oh.
I've experienced it. And that has made me think about, are there some reasons not to? Do you understand the questions? Can you see reasons or situations that better serve you if you don't forgive? Do you understand the question? Because we always talk about that forgiveness is the right thing. I don't easily buy it. I think it could be, but there are maybe situations that serve me better not to. What do you think about that?
That's a as you taught to say in communication, that's a very good question. I believe in forgiveness ultimately. I think in relationship to ACA, I can forgive toxic people, but I choose not to be near them. That's as close as I can get. But I do. No abuser wasn't abused. That doesn't make it right, their abuse. But Thich Nhat Hanh is a great Vietnamese Buddhist. He one of his nuns, not him, one of the women teachers that works with him, she has a meditation where you meditate on your parents or your ancestors at 3 different ages, when they were 5, when they were 10, when they were 15, and what lives they were living. You know? My dad didn't do a very good job, but I know what his child was like, and mine was a step up. You know? It's a saying, walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. Even someone who's done great harm. And for me, I look at them as I have compassion for what's going to be their next life. Because it's not mine to judge. And that makes it easier for me to have forgiveness of great harms. And I've had some great harms. I've harmed others. So if I ask for forgiveness, I have to be willing to extend forgiveness. But again, it doesn't mean I do avoid toxic people, or I don't get enmeshed with them. We are addicted to excitement, parentheses, drama. And that can be, the more we recover in ACA, the less we are attracted to drama. Some excitement's good. We like high energy, just not the ones that harm us. So that's my best answer for that. Tough question, and thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Melinda. I'm an adult child. The conversation of forgiveness, and especially what you just shared there, I feel it's safe probably to share a quote, since I saw some Marie Williamson in some of our literature, or Marianne Williamson in our literature, a Wayne Dyer quote. He says, "Nobody on the face of the earth has ever died from a snake bite. Nobody, ever."
Ever died from?
A snake bite?
What?
Nobody has ever died from a snake bite. We die from the venom, right? And so that opened up, even just something like that really serves me, to borrow some language there. Like, I really do start doing pros and cons lists in my head of how does holding on to this venom help me, and how does it hurt me? And then if I decide that it hurts me, I look around for tools to eradicate that venom out of my system, whether it's being with a fellowship or doing a meta practice on it or something like that, in order to, sometimes I have to do some mental gymnastics to see that in order to give forth or forgive somebody, I have to have something to give forth. So I have to, especially early in the program when I didn't have a higher power that had a face, I had to create one that had already forgiven me so that I could forgive. I don't know if that makes sense. We just had an inner child seminar, and when I was a child, it was so easy for me to make-believe friends, and to me they were real. And somewhere between childhood and adulthood, I lost that power to make that invisible friend who was always there, who kept me from feeling lonely when I was alone. So I think that helps.
Thank you. Anyone in the cheap seats? You're over right here.
Okay. Let's see. I'm Tracy. We're not saying that. Forgiveness is tricky, I think, for adult children, because I tended to forgive too soon, and before I even acknowledged my inner child's experience, or it was like, it didn't even exist, really. As soon as someone had done this thing, in my head, I turned it around to they did nothing wrong at all. So I have to be aware of that when people do things like, wait a minute, let's slow this down. They did, do something here, and that's not okay. And I need to take whatever steps I need to take in that situation to, for me, get my power back in the situation, because I can hand that over way too easily. But I was thinking, what was the other thought? My dad is not here anymore. He died when he was 51 from his alcoholism. And he was my biggest... I can't remember much about him, but he seems to be the theme kind of coming up this weekend for me, because I'm always wondering, when is the dad stuff going to happen? But it's happening now. but he was my biggest, did the most damage to me. But he also, when he died from his alcoholism, I decided to stop drinking myself because I saw what my life was going to be like. So it also he saved my life at the same time. So the bigger picture is, I don't know what the heck's going on. Basically, it's all very confusing, and there's no black and white, to the situation. But what I was hearing too is the lens of which I'm looking through things, not to create or hurt out of something that's not. I really check, is what's going on really happening, or am I looking through, the lens of my history? Because really in the moment, it's not. But I can perceive that stuff is still happening, and it's not. And the reality that I'm living in today is a lot different than before. As far as it's not personal. People are doing stuff and have been doing stuff for generations, and it's not. They're not doing it to me. People are just doing what they know, and I'm here to stop that cycle from my own life, and I'm very happy about that. So I'm very happy to be surrounded by people who are, as passionate about it to me. It's so awesome to be, that there's all these people that are interested in doing that too. So thank you.
I was at a teaching with the Dalai Lama, His Holiness, and he was asked, what can I do for world peace? There's a basket of questions, and they pick a few out, and we were waiting for this great answer, and he gave us one. He said, smile at the next person you see. It's true.
Hi, I'm Greg, adult child. I was really struck, David, by the linking in what you said at the beginning to the forgiveness exercise when you talked about admission versus disclosure. And in ACA, one of the guidances, I guess is the word, that came out of Tony was to do, when we do the fourth step, to do a blameless inventory. And for me, one of the powers in that was I had the experience in another fellowship where fundamentally the way I was taught, and you and I have discussed this, the way I was taught was that, the blame was on me. And what is interesting was I had gone through quite a bit of forgiveness work before I did the fourth step in ACA. And as a result, there's a real power in that. Going through that fourth step mostly then becomes a disclosure for me. It is a blameless inventory. And when I'm able to see it from the standpoint of no blame, from the standpoint of this happened, this happened, this happened, there's a real, there's a deeper awareness of whatever power was going on at the time, and being able to let go of that, both in the context of forgiving myself and forgiving others. The challenge, and I'm coming around to it, the challenge is that, to stay in that mode of disclosure requires continuous forgiveness work, and I dropped the ball on that repeatedly, and it's not in a sense of I need to beat myself up again for it, but in the sense of being aware that this is something that will help me if I want to do that. And I'm curious about how on an ongoing daily basis, I know you gave the one example of not taking a while to forgive somebody, but on an ongoing basis, how do you maintain that awareness?
I kind of made it into a joke statement, but it's not a joke. How do I beat myself to the mat? Mat being the meditation mat. I have a little shrine in the corner that's got doodads from my son's service in the Navy to the Dalai Lama to different Rinpoches to other things people have made and given me. It's not a shrine to worship. It's a shrine to keep me connected, right? So when I say I beat myself to the mat, I may get up and bring a cup of coffee. I may bring some green tea. No, I'm not strict. But what I try to do, don't always succeed, is that before I engage the day, I try to wake back up that spiritual side, that one day at a time thing. In the bottle beverage, I had a service sponsor who just died a year ago, and she was my service sponsor for 22 years. And I always had a problem with the statement, whoever woke up earliest today has been sober the longest. And I'm like, oh, please, And then she was speaking at a convention, and she said that. And I went, oh, geez. So I went and talked to her. I said, Tommy, what's that about? And she said, well, David, it's a daily reprieve from a fatal disease, which is what we have as well. She says, so whoever got up earliest started the reprieve earlier. You and I have a lot better chance of ending the day sober, but it's a daily, one day at a time. So how do I start my day correctly? If I start my day with somebody wakes me up with a phone call and tells me something really, really hard, rather than good, bad, or evil, then I'm like, I can get off to the races, but I've learned techniques for that too, and I'll get to that for a second because that's important. But what I try to do on a daily basis is I hit the mat, even if it's just for the cup of coffee, and I chant, these are beads that are malas, and most malas have 108 beads. And I'll do 108 Om Mani Padme Oms, and if I'm still stuck in my head a little bit, I'll do another 108 until I'm not so stuck, and I feel pretty centered. And then I go to my computer. My computer, I hate to tell you how many email addresses I have. I have too many. I have a business and nonprofit and responsibilities in this fellowship as a trustee. But I go to one email address first where it doesn't work here because I'm 6 hours ahead, which is they don't come in till noon, but they come in at 5 and 6 a.m., where I get a couple spiritual readings randomly coming in from different organizations. I get a spiritual thing from AA, from ACA, and I read those before I read the rest of the mail. I can see other things that look tempting, right? The monkey brain is reaching for that panda, oh, look, a panda, But I try to do that first as a practice. The other side of that is if I get caught, Pema Chodron calls it sempa, where I hold on to a thought, or something happens during that day which causes me unease, right? A man I know who died this year with 68 years of sobriety. And he came, I was a year sober and I didn't start ACA until I was 3 years sober. And he came back and he said he was like a mentor. Davey, you got to do this. You got to hear this one. He says, this girl, she's a newbie. She had like 25 years sober. I'm quivering, And he says, you don't have to drink to restart your program. Now think about that for ACA. We don't have to revert to shame, blame, anger, and all of that. We can go, wait, I'm worth it. Those T-shirts for the next convention, I'm worth it. Tommy used to always say to me, I love you, David. Love yourself. Be good to yourself. And one of the great learnings in ACA is self-care. So when something happens that's disruptive, or, service and relationships will bring out your character defects and your laundry list traits, and you get to work on them even harder. It's something that disturbs me. I'm pretty human, I'll have to go to the mat. Whether I go sit on that mat or I just center myself and go, breathe. Just breathe. And I'm pretty good at clearing my head. It's been empty a number of years. But I was fortunate at 17, I learned meditation, and it was in a room in Cambridge, in Boston, actually. And it was near a hospital or cop shop. I don't know, a police station. I don't know which one. And the windows were open. It was a little dark, and sirens would go by. And a teacher guy, Mitch Blake, he would say, this is a TM guy before they charged money for TM, that, don't try to not hear the sound. Right? Hear the sound, hear it come, hear it go. And, over the years, I've learned this is like this great teaching lesson, but I always had it right there in person, straight up acoustic. I'm acoustically oriented, So the siren comes and the siren goes, but we don't try to keep it. No, you let it go. It's like the great Zen saying of keep an open mind. Keep the front door and the back door open for your thoughts. Let the thought come through. Let the thought leave. Don't invite it for dinner. No. Don't give it a cup of coffee. And then you'll talk to it. So when we have those thoughts, when we get back to, man, that really annoying. Okay. Can I let it go? Do I have to hold on to it? Do I really have to do that? Because who am I hurting? My therapist said to me, David, you left home at 16. What are the critical voices in the head? Whose are those voices? And they were mine. So I turned those into gentle voices, and I do love myself. And I must say I love each and every one of you. I mean, I really do. There's this program is life itself. Well, it's life itself for so many of us. So thank you very much. We're about out of time, I guess. So, yeah.